Auto Web. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Auto Web.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, as well as a Clubhouse, the podcast, etc. I've got a special guest here, my man Jeff Homolak, correct, out of Medina Auto Mall in Ohio, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's what's up. So listen, we were basically had a little pre-conversation, and I'm really impressed because you guys are ranked as the #1 GMC and Buick dealership in the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, damn. And so when you said that the store overall, it's an auto mall. So you guys sell over 600 units a month. Now, obviously the economy's kind of shifted some things, but the other aspect of this that was really interesting is that your internet department that you're the head of, you're delivering 300 to 350 units per month. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was in the better market.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's been an effect, but my point is that you got to that level. So, and the reason why it's important is that the average dealership on the NADA profile says that it's only about 96 units before the whole pandemic thing happened. And the average dealership only sells 96 units out of their entire dealership. That's with 10 salespeople, 2 sales managers, GM, GSM, and F&I, all that to sell less than 100 cars. So you were doing more than triple, almost quadruple what the national average is just out of your department. So obviously, if there's a global pandemic and a chip shortage, especially, your heavy General Motors, right? They're having some issues with these chips. That's still significant. So I want to kind of get into it. The structure that you have, you had said to me that your organization was basically just salespeople were handling all this stuff. When you came in, they started to build the BDC. So what's impressive to me is that you only have a small lean team of about 5 people, including yourself, to be responsible for that many units. So I asked you a simple question: how do you do it? You said you make a ton of appointments, and man, 30 appointments a day is over 800 plus appointments in a month. So let's start there. How are you guys so good at making appointments?
We go through a lot of training. So pretty much every single day, we're striving to see what the competition is doing. How can we beat the competition? How can we always be the best? So we have very high standards for ourselves to always be the best and do the best, as well as we believe in taking care of our employees and making them happy. So that definitely makes a difference for employees to work hard if they're happy where they're at.
Well, I would agree with you 1,000%. As a national trainer, that's the drum that I'm banging for like 22 and a half years is practice, drill, and rehearse. So, but to do that, there's things that you need. You need to be able to identify what is it that you need to practice? What is it that you need to improve? So questions for you. What are some KPIs which are key performance indicators? What are some KPIs that you have that's important for you to be able to benchmark what you're gauging? What I mean by that question is, are you tracking the process, the attempts, the connections, the appointments made, what's said, TOs, that type of stuff? What's important for you to track?
So for me, the most important things to track are our confirm rate, our show rate, and as well as, I try to watch as much as possible as the sold rate. So the show rate is the most important for me, because that's the biggest thing that I and my department have full control of, is getting these people to show up. And when I first came in, we were looking at, roughly around a 30, little bit plus percentage of show rate. And now we've been looking at roughly a 50, 60% show rate for customers. So the biggest thing we always do, we listen to our own phone calls. We have, quarterly reviews. So we see, what we're doing right, what we need to improve on, and we do our best to, make sure customers are coming in, make sure customers are taken care of. So customer service is always number one with us.
So let's go through that. You said that you track the phone calls, just the phone calls. Do you use any particular technology to be able to track your phone calls and monitor your phone calls?
We definitely do. We use CallSource. So we go through CallSource, which records, all of our incoming and outgoing calls. So then we are able to play those back and listen back to them. So with the CRM that we use, when someone makes an outbound call, that is then recorded and we can listen to later on. So if a customer didn't commit on coming in, we can go over that and listen to that with the representative and find out why. Where was the disconnect where the customer was unsure about coming into the dealership?
You know what? I wanted to say this right here because this is what I just don't understand, okay, for our industry. We're going to spend, and this is from NADA, okay, this is before the pandemic, the average dealership spends $64,000 a month in advertising, right? And the average cost per sale from NADA means how much does it cost you to sell that particular car based on a simple, math equation of budget spend versus cars sold, right? Is about $604 per car. But now, because of the chip shortage, because the inventory is wacky, right? You're selling like dealers are selling less cars. They're grossing more, but that means that the advertisement car per sold is higher, whether that it goes from 640 to 840 or 940. But remember, now here's what I want to bring to everybody's attention right now. That number is BS. The NADA number has always been BS. Here's why. I call it dumb dealer math. And what does that mean? Dumb dealer math. It means that if I run a store and I spend $64,000 a month in advertising and I sell 100 cars, that's how you get that BS number of 640 per car sold. But the reality is not every car sale came because of that dollar that you put in that budget. Some people are coming to buy from you because they broke down and they don't have transportation. They need it, whatever. They needed a car. They're local. You're the closest one there. Or they're a prior customer, or they had a lease return, or because of your franchise, you know what I mean? Or because of, somebody's a relative that's there or whatever it is. So again, even before the pandemic, that number at 640, I would have almost doubled to about 1,000. And so I'm really saying that I believe that the average dealership's cost per sale legitimately in advertising right now in the current market is over $1,000. So if that's the case, you spending $1,000 per car to sell it. You have HR, you got your facility, you got all this other stuff. You are throwing all this crap against the wall. Why in the world would we not want to make sure, A, that your people are trained the right way to maximize every opportunity, especially in a pandemic where every opportunity is incredibly important? We would want nothing to slip by or drip by. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay, so then I'm just going on a little rant because I love what you're doing, but this is what I do on a daily basis. And a lot of stores are not inspecting what they expect. They're just assuming that people are saying the right thing. So have you ever using this CallSource technology, have you or your staff have been like made aware of things that were really important, like, holy crap, I can't believe that my salesperson said this, or my person missed that buying signal? Have you actually been able to find things in this situation?
100% all the time.
Give us some examples. Good. Give us examples of what type of stuff are you finding, and you're catching that and saving because of, the strategy of accountability.
One of my biggest pet peeves would be someone calling in on a particular vehicle and a salesperson telling them, I'm sorry, we no longer have that, and then hanging up the phone. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let's bring them in. Who cares if the vehicle isn't here? Let's flip them into another one. Let's be proactive and actually sell the vehicle rather than just being, a customer service, call. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, oh, sorry, we don't have the vehicle. And that's where with CallSource, we're able to listen to those instances and catch them and make sure, hey, let's still get them in and let's find them another vehicle that would fit their needs.
Okay, so two parts on that I want to talk about. Let's go back into the whole aspect of like the vehicle's not available. So I wanted to give a little tip to our audience right here. Before the pandemic, right? This is facts. Only 80% of people were, specifically on one particular car. Do you see what I'm saying? Like again, there's so many people that submit an internet purchase request, and I got to change the number for a second. I apologize. There's so many people that are on the internet that don't know exactly what they want, or they know what they want, but they can't qualify for it because they're upside down in their trade. Their credit is banged up. They don't have the money, or they don't want to spend the money, or whatever. Before the pandemic, so the actual number is that I messed up the 80%. 80% of people that submit a purchase request are going to buy something different. That's what the stat is. 80% of people that submit a purchase request are going to buy something different. To be specific, AutoWeb says that 46% of people that submit a new car lead were buying used cars. 22% of people that submit a used car lead buy new cars. Now, that was before this inventory crisis. What I'm saying to you right now, it's even crazier because vehicles are not available. So now more than ever, people are willing to buy something that they didn't originally want, if it was similar or if they could get a similar value and things like that. So when I hear as a trainer that somebody says the vehicle's not there like you, I cringe. And if I did not have a resource like CallSource to be able to help me catch it, it would be, my God, I'd start to twitch on all the missed money and missed opportunities and negative experience that I'm giving with the prospect of disappointment. So now help me understand the CallSource that you guys use. Is it like, do they notify you, or do you have to physically go in and find these opportunities? Because how does that work if you're really busy selling 600 plus cars a month, 300 plus cars out of your department? Like, how do you have the time to find these mistakes? Is there like an early warning system, or how do you get these alerts?
Yes, it is email alert that we do receive. So all the calls are live listened to by a rep at CallSource. And then within that email, that rep determines who it was that answered the call from the customer, as well as the customer's name and their phone number. And then it'll tell us whether an appointment was not offered, or if an appointment was offered, but the customer did not commit. And then we're able to click one button within that email and listen to the call right then and there. Not only that, we also get weekly reports on the performance, what has happened, all the customers that have called in, and if the appointment was or was not offered. And it provides a nice, detailed, organized report on everything that happened.
And I do believe CallSource just got acquired. You might not know this. They just got acquired by another big company that's in the space, Call Review. So I'm actually curious, when you have two, juggernauts, technology-wise, strategy-wise, purpose-wise, mission, vision, values that come together. It's like forming Voltron, synergy. Synergy is defined as two or more agents that come together are greater than individual effects. So if you have, CallSource is a multi-million-dollar, company, Call Review, multi-million-dollar company, and they both have tech strategies, expert people on their teams. If either one of them obviously was successful without each other, but when you put two companies like that in the same genre together, man, I think that's pretty cool as a client, man. So, congratulations on that. How is it with the reps? Because here's a question I have is that sometimes like I find as a trainer, like I bump heads with certain vendors because I expect a lot. I mean, if a dealer's paying you for a product or service, you need to exceed their expectations, but what happens is a lot of these vendors are overwhelmed and they have a big, a book of business, and it's hard to keep up. Do you have a good rapport with your reps? Are they proactive? Or you got to chase them down?
Yes, have very, very good rapport with them. So, that's the wonderful thing is they're always looking to do better. If they're able to learn more and do better, they're able to make more money. So it's a win-win.
All right, let's talk about that for a second, because I really believe that a lot of the vendors drop the ball with their dealers for whatever reason, and I don't think dealers do a lot. So how would you, because I'll give you my opinion in a second, but I want to hear from you first as the dealer. How do you leverage your rep at CallSource, or for that, any vendor? Like, how do you leverage them? Do you want to have weekly phone calls? Do you want to have monthly phone calls? Do you have them, what do you have them analyze? Like, what value do you get besides them selling you shit?
Yes, definitely. So I shoot for weekly phone meetings. So I call, I rep over a call source. Hey, what are you seeing here? What are you noticing? Like from your end, what's your opinion, especially hearing from these customers? What could we improve on? What do you think we can do better? So, and not only that, but then she will also ask me, what's inventory looking like? What's the ordering situation? For a little while there, we weren't able to order Chrysler Pacificas at all. They closed down the ordering process. So that would be something, I would communicate to them. It's like, hey, just to let you know, we cannot order any kind of Pacificas. So we're going to have to sell them a used van or get them into an SUV. So that's kind of where we're looking at. So we have that weekly communication to know exactly what's going on in the industry and the market, and also what they're noticing with us on how we can improve to get more customers through the door.
You know what? I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because here's what I find is that dealerships are upside down, and they've been upside down for, I think, like a decade. As far as, if you think about it, they put all of their resources, or strike that, they put the majority of their resources, especially human resources, conventionally. 10 salespeople, 2 to 3 sales managers, floor managers, desk managers, TL managers, whatever, GSM, GM, and F&I. And then for the internet department, you get 2 people, 3 people, and you get 1 manager to handle 5, 10 times the amount of traffic, compared to a desk person. So all the resources are up there. And now if I'm on the floor, right, if I'm a sales manager at the GSM level or GM level, I have other sales managers, GSMs, GMs right there at the tower, on the floor, or at least in my need to know space. Most times, think about this, the internet director, I'm not saying you, because you're obviously a freaking high level to sell 300 plus cars a month, but unfortunately, a lot of internet directors might not be the most powerful manager in the dealership, meaning the sales manager might have more experience or skill or tenure, or the GSM or whatever it is. So you basically have, not in a disrespectful way, but a realistic way, one of the least experienced sales managers in the company is running the biggest department with the biggest reach there. And they have no support of co-sales managers like on the desk or the tower or whatever to help them. So, and that's why the internet director's job is so goddamn hard, man, is because they got to do most of this by themselves without the resources that their colleagues, that the sales managers have. So what I would say is, to all you internet directors or BDC directors, my people, I get it. And one thing that you can do to counterbalance that is like what Jeff is saying here, is be selective of whatever vendor partners that you have. Okay, I don't care if it's with CallSource in, for call tracking, call monitoring for your phone process and that stuff, or it's a lead source provider, or it's a website provider, it's an SEO provider. Whatever vendor you have, you need to make sure that these people are going to be consultative, constructive, strategically aligned to you, because that's another resource. To me, that's the equivalent of being on the desk and I'm a sales manager and I got 1 or 2 other sales managers with me that I could say, hey, John, hey, John, hey, Cindy, what do you think about this? You have that backup right there. Leverage your vendors as additional management support to be able to analyze things, to be able to problem solve through things, to be able to work with projections and forecasting. Is that what I'm hearing from you, Jeff? You get that from CallSource?
Yes, sir, definitely. One of the biggest things I see in here are the dealers not utilizing that tool that's available to them. So you can sign up for these services, you can sign up for these tools, just as if I was creating a statue. If someone gives me a chisel and a hammer, if I'm sitting there punching the rock, I'm not going to get very far. You have to actually pick up that hammer and chisel, and you have to work at it and work away. A lot of people, if they, go to CallSource and get deal saver recovery system set up, there's like, oh, they're handling it. Oh, well, if you don't utilize it and stay on top of it and learn from it, it's not going to be any use to you. So, these programs and tools that are out there, they're the key to success. You just have to utilize them. You can't let them sit there and expect them to work for themselves.
Absolutely. So, couple of questions for you. I think that everybody that works at a dealership has some experience, especially a good manager and a great manager like yourself that's responsible. You're part of the #1 GMC Buick dealership in the country. I mean, so you're doing something really good. What is it that you would say that you personally are amazing at or the best at? I'll give you an example. Like for me, I do a lot of stuff, like whether I'm a CRM expert, I'm a digital marketing expert, I'm a sales expert, but there's certain things that I think that I am better at than anybody breathing. So what would you say, do you think you are the best at out of anybody breathing professionally?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention auto dealers, you need an opportunity to do business. AutoWeb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. I mean, high quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. AutoWeb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and or zip codes. And as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need AutoWeb.
Probably it's going to be answering phone calls. So answering phone calls, getting that appointment, and not only getting that appointment, but getting them to show up.
Good. So let's go through that. So give us some tips that you would say, see, I was setting you up, obviously, for my people, my audience is, okay, if you're great at the phone process, what is your strategy that you recommend for an agent, whether it's a sales rep or BDC rep? If you're making you got an internet purchase request on a 2022 GMC Canyon, right? Okay, great. I'm in the market for one. When you or your rep calls me and you get me on the phone, what is your strategy on securing that appointment? What advice do you have for people to get more appointments?
Biggest thing is, be personable, act like you're talking to your friend, and, stress the fact that, even though it's easy to buy things on Amazon, not so easy to do that with a vehicle, and when people are inquiring about price, I understand that price is important to you, but when you're going to buy a vehicle, is price what matters, or do you want to know that you're going to like the vehicle first? If I can get you to a payment of $250 a month, that sounds great, doesn't it? They're going to say yes. What if you absolutely hate that vehicle? Now, is that $250 a month really worth it now, or is it the biggest waste of money that you're paying every single month? You have to come in and know you're going to love that vehicle before you make that commitment to owning it.
I love that. I think you're spot on. Okay. Now, so that's for making the appointments. The challenge that for a lot of people is that they make appointments, but people don't show up. So what would you say, that your advice is to get more people to show up?
Follow up. That's the biggest thing. So we confirm appointments, 2 days before, the day before, as well as the morning of. We call, text, and email. So we use all three methods. Everyone responds differently. Some people prefer text, some people prefer email, and some people prefer talk on the phone. So we're calling them, check up on them, make sure that they want to come to that appointment, and we are here waiting for them. That spot is secured for them. And, creating that importance to that appointment encourages people to show up.
I think that's strong. I'm going to build on that for you. So I want to give our audience a little bit of, diversity. See, for me, I've been doing this for a long time, awards, Dealer Choice Awards for internet and phone. And what I like to tell my BDCs, my internet departments, and my salespeople is simple. Price is only relevant with the absence of value. Okay. The reason why on the showroom floor, I used to average over 30 cars a month when I sold cars on the floor for years. And the reality for me is that I want them to fall in love with the vehicle. I want them to love the vehicle. And one of the ways to do that is providing max value. That's why dealers, good managers, make it mandatory or highly encourage their people to try to do a full features and benefits walk around presentation and a demonstration drive. Because by doing the walk around presentation and the demonstration drive, you'll be able to, provide max value. So Jeff, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, well then think about this for a second. If you're talking on the phones with somebody and you qualify them, have you driven the car yet? No. Okay, come on down. See, I believe a lot of times when they're on the phones, even the so-called good people out there, they go for the appointment too prematurely. In my opinion, if you want to get more people to show, and national average, just to put in perspective, is Dealer Synergy. And we have, I have over 3,500 rooftop clients in the last 17 years, and we got 1,400 active rooftops right now. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Listen to me. The number one thing to me is to provide max value. So let's say if I'm talking to the prospect and we have a 65% closing ratio, we have some people that are volume and doing 300 units a month that have a 70% show ratio. That is astronomically high at that volume, because the one thing that we do a little bit differently, I want to suggest to you and our audience, is to provide extra value. So for example, one thing that we believe in is called the value package proposition. What that means is, what is different and better about what you do at your dealership, your manufacturer? See, the rules of engagement have always been the same. Sell yourself, sell the dealership, sell the product. That my whole career, 22 and a half years, sell yourself, sell the dealership, sell the product. Too many times, interdepartments or BDCs or salespeople that are on the phone, have you driven the car yet? No, come on down. I just want to make you, and they just go for the appointment because that's all their training was. Go for the appointment. But I'm going to set you up for some questions, Jeff. Do you believe that time is money?
Most definitely.
I agree. So the correct answer. So if time is money, in essence, what we want them to do is what? Spend their money with us. When we ask for an appointment, we want them to spend their time currency, right? So we want them to spend their money. So don't you think that we've got to provide reasons and value for them to spend their money, their time money? Because if you think about it, if I'm making an appointment and there's no value in it because you sucked on the phones, you weren't different, you were bland, you were like Mr. Snuffleupagus with your tone and inflection, there's nothing exciting, yada, yada, yada. So then I might or might not show up. But if I have, like a personality, like you said in the very beginning, if I'm personable, if I have a great conversation, like I'm talking to my friend, those are your words. I love that. If you basically have a real legitimate conversation, if you get people to like you, trust you, and believe you, what I mean, they're going to be more susceptible to coming in. And if you do something like this, if you tell them what you do differently and better than anybody else, what is your value package proposition? What is your differentiator? That's the equivalent of doing a full features and benefit walk around in the showroom on the car, and you're doing, a demonstration drive. Because remember, you're not selling the car with the appointment. You know what I mean? So your strategy can't just be on the car itself, and the hook is the appointment. You've got to be able to sell them on why they need to show up to the dealership. And if people listening make that pivot, when you make the appointment, don't just try to sell the car, sell the appointment, sell them on all the reason why they need to show up. Does that make sense, Jeff? Do you like that?
Definitely.
Okay. And that's how it's going to help people go from, a 50% show or 60% show to 65 or 75% show. Another pro tip on this, and I want to get some more pro tips from you, is video appointment confirmations. So you got to understand that regular emails only have about a 2 to 4% read open rate. So when you go to video emails, it increases read open rates up to 300%. In addition to that, unlike a email that only has a 7% communication medium to get somebody to comprehend and be excited and want something, you only have 7%. When you are in video, you have sight, sound, motion, and emotion, the full science of communications. It is the closest value next to them physically being in the dealership. So if I really want to get people to actually show up to my appointments, I tell my clients that under no circumstances should you ever send a regular email or even a regular text message for an appointment confirmation. It's not that hard when you have tools like YouTube or BombBomb or CoVideo or whatever out there to be able to do that. So video appointment confirmations. And I'm going to source to you, there's another major multi-billion-dollar dealer group called the Cardinelli Auto Group in California. They're ranked as the number one on Ward's eTop 100 for the last 5 years in a row. And one of their things is legitimately focusing on the VIP appointment confirmation. So Jeff, I want to pull more superpower stuff out of you. What advice do you have for internet directors like yourself that are only doing 5%, compared to what you're doing? They're fractional. How can they get to that next level as a director to be able to build their department up?
For their show rate?
for anything. Yeah, let's say somebody's, selling, 20, let's say 50, 60 cars a month out of their internet department. How did they get to that next level? What would you didn't always start at 300, whether it was at this store or different dealership, you started at like whatever. And then you started, doing something as a manager that enabled you to start selling more and more and more and more to now you're the number one in the country. So what advice do you have for me as a director that wants to be more like you?
Work with sales. That's one of the biggest things, me and the sales managers that we have, the 6 sales managers, us coexisting and always talking, what's going on with you guys? This is what's going on with us. So we're always up to date. We're always working together to improve each other. So that's a very important thing, is having a relationship and always communicating with your sales managers to see what's going on and working together. You'll be surprised, they'll have some ideas that may help you out, and you'll have some ideas that'll help them out. So that relationship is super, super important. So, sometimes, they're separate a lot of times, between the internet department as well as the sales. They should really coexist peacefully. And that's the biggest thing, is working together to achieve the end goal.
Man, you ain't saying nothing wrong here, my friend. There's so many dealerships that there is a conflict between the internet department or BDC and the showroom. I mean, there's no interdependence. There's no synergy. There's no strategy. That process needs to be fluid, almost like an Olympic relay race, and if the internet department is getting blown up by the sales department, meaning like this, the coordinators are saying whatever, the BDC are saying what they're saying to get the people in, like that vehicle's available, we could help you. And then the salespeople are undermining them or not supporting, like that is rampant in our industry. It seems, and I'm glad I asked these questions, that one of the attributes to your guys' success is that you have synergy between the showroom, between the salespeople, between the management. You guys work together. You work strategically aligned to sell cars together. And I don't know why most dealerships, forget about not working together, they're in conflict. There's a difference of not even just being neutral, but it's worse than that. They're in conflict. They're bumping heads. They're skating each other. They're not helping each other. They're messing stuff up. So how did you get that culture at your organization? Was that something that was already there before you got there? Or are you part of the reason why, you're able to have symmetry on your floor in your department?
I'll be honest, at the beginning, it was a little rough. It's like, why are we having a BDC here? I got a lot of pushback from the sales staff, a lot. It was very, very difficult. It was a hill to climb. And I've heard from some dealers where they say their lowest performing sales reps, they punish them and put them into the BDC. Now, that's one thing that blows my mind. How is the BDC a punishment? So, for example, I had a sales rep yesterday who asked me if it was okay if he could come into the BDC to work on his phone training and observe how calls are answered so that he can get better on the phone. So it's that trust. Every Monday and Thursday, my reps go out and they have their own teams with the sales staff. They sit down with every single member on their team and they listen to phone calls. And my team will tell them, hey, this, would have been a better thing to tell this customer to help get them in. So they work on phone training, based on what I teach them, they pass down then to the salespeople. We have a very large sales staff of almost 40 people. So they all sit down with them and go over with them, on things that they could work on. And it's definitely like a friendship, friendship culture, hey, I'm here to help you. Let's become successful together. And that's the biggest thing, is kind of have that friendship culture to where, let's both improve so we can both make money. And that's very, very important, looking at the BDC or internet department as, punishing your sales reps. That one blows my mind. It should look as an opportunity. And I have my team go out there with the sales staff where they show them, walkarounds of the vehicle and go take, test drives. So they know when they're talking on the phone to the customer exactly what they're saying.
Listen, so now let's go back to the company that you were talking about before, CallSource, right? So CallSource, it's not just for the internet and BDC people. You're also using it for the 40 salespeople on the floor.
Definitely. Yes, sir.
Well, that makes more sense because, again, how the hell are you tracking 40 different sales reps, inbound, outbound phone calls, and being able to make sure that there's nothing dropped or no, like missed opportunities and things like that. So technology is definitely going to help. I didn't realize you had 40 sales reps. That's a lot of salespeople, plus all of the BDC reps and yourself. You need technology, and that's it for dealers that are just silly. If you don't have technology like this, the call tracking, the early detection, warning system, so to speak, the missed opportunities. Why? I don't turn around and use the sun and the moon to be able to figure out how to get to my destination. I use GPS. That's kind of like, it might sound absurd, but that's what it sounds like to me, for the dealers that are not using technology to inspect what they expect. So, I'm just saying, it's not about CallSource, it's about here, but I'm just saying, listen, success follows success. If I am a Buick or GMC dealer, I'm all over this interview right here. And if I am your competitor, I'm all over this interview right here because I want to dissect what the number one GMC and the number one Buick dealership in the country is doing. A store that's doing 600 plus units a month, or was, and 3 to 350 off of the internet. All right, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to ignore this man's advice. I'm not going to pay attention to CallSource or those companies because I know better. I'm going to go back to being happy selling 80 cars out of my internet department. No disrespect, but if you could do 100, 150, and all you got to do is get the right resources and the right strategies, then what are we practicing for? There's only so much seconds in the day. Once they're gone, they're gone. Jeff, you agree?
Definitely agree. That tool is there. Why not use it? If I didn't have CallSource, I would have to go through every single call individually myself. Let's be honest, Sean, I don't have time for that. CallSource is an amazing help to be able to deliver those calls right to my email. Hey, this is what happened. And I know, go right there, attack the problem and get it fixed.
All right, cool. So as we start to wind the interview down, what are your biggest challenges that you receive right now because of the pandemic? Are you getting the same thing about inventory? And let's start there. Do you have an inventory crisis as well as the rest of the world?
Oh yes, definitely.
So how do you handle that? So I want to hear from Jeff, from you, like just your ninja stuff, man. If you're talking to me again, and that I already have in my arsenal, I'm a GMC client, right? So let's say I'm looking for a Canyon Denali, but there's no Denali's out there or what have you. So how are you handling breaking the news to people that the vehicle's not available? And are people okay and receptive because they understand it's a global pandemic, or are they difficult to switch or flip them?
They're much more receptive now because it's been going on for several months. So everyone knows it. Everyone understands. So, all we do is figure out, problem to solution. One of my biggest phrases I use is, I don't want to hear about the problem. I want to hear about the solution. So that's the biggest thing. It's like, yeah, we may not have that Canyon Denali in stock, but guess what? What we can do is we can go ahead and order it for you, especially customers who are, 6 to 12 months out on their lease. Come on in, let's order the vehicle. And guess what? By the time your lease matures, you're going to have that vehicle in stock where no one else will.
Oh, pause. Super point right there. Super point. A lot of dealerships don't, unfortunately, I'm talking about nationally, really maximize leasing. In the Northeast and in California, for example, they're really hot. But like in states like down south, lease penetrations I see are like 20, 25%, whereas like in Northeast, it's like 70 to 80%. In California, like 90% leasing. At Cody Carter, the number one salesperson right now, he just sold 156 cars in 1 month on the showroom floor in California. He averages over 130 units a month on the showroom floor, and it's because of leasing. But I think, the pro tip I'm extracting from what you just said is that leasing is freaking phenomenal, especially now. And second of all, if you back before the pandemic, there was supposed to be a lease early lease termination process that BDCs do, internet departments do, where you supposedly start 6 months out. But reality is, majority of people never paid attention 6 months out because there wasn't a real reason to, but you started the conversation. Usually about 90 days out, that's when you could start pulling ahead. 90 days out, 60 days out, 30 days out, etc. But now, from what you just said, you have a big, strong pitch to people that are 6 months out or even 7 months out. Say, listen, I want to just warn you right now, it's pretty bleak right now with the inventory. I know that this might not seem like it's important to start thinking about this now, but I think we should start doing it. So you could start getting traction by changing your strategy. I love what you just said. Okay, good. So give me another tip of how to overcome, if I'm an internet director or BDC agent, how I could overcome not having this car in stock.
Transitioning to used inventory. So that's, very good thing. We got two very, very good used car managers here who are very aggressive and love what they do. So we work, with them directly on, used cars that do come in. And, if we don't have something that customer needs right now in a new car, I'm sure we can find it in a used car. We have about $8 million worth of inventory right now in used vehicles. So we have a wide range that is continuing to grow. So new cars don't bother us too much. We'll sell you a pre-owned vehicle.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And then the last question I want to ask, because I know you got to sell more cars yourself, my friend, is just, you've been in the industry for how many years?
Several years now, looking at about 3 years.
Okay, so you've been in the industry for about 3 years now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in this for 22 and a half years. For somebody that has such a young career like you do, to be at the number one store and to be part of the reason why you got to over 350 units in a month is just amazing. So you have a lot of experience in a very short amount of time, but also 3 years is perfect because we've been in the pandemic for over a year and a half now. So half of your entire automotive career has been in the pandemic, but you know what I mean? So you have a unique perspective and you're a unique level. So what advice, if you could just take your whole 3 years, the craziness of one extreme to the other in such a short amount of time, how do you want to leave this interview? We have a massive audience that listens to our podcast, and we have tens of thousands of people that are tuned in on Facebook. So what advice or what message do you want to leave your community? Just from what you've experienced and your knowledge gaining in the last 3 years.
You definitely have to love it. If you don't love it, then it won't matter at all. So you have to love what you do. If not, you're just not going to be successful. You have to love the craziness. You have to love the chaos.
I would agree. My last question to you is this: do you believe these next two statements are true? So either say true or false. Car sales is like owning your own business.
True.
Good. I agree. Second is, in the automotive industry, you could make as much money as you can earn.
True.
Okay. So here's the thing is that what you just said before about you've got to love it. You got to love the control chaos or have you, but you got to love it, because if you don't really love it and pour into it, you're not going to be able to do those two questions that I asked. You can't be able to treat it like your own business, because and I'm a entrepreneur of multiple companies. And so the reason why I'm so successful is because this is my business and I go hard because I'm leaving my children a legacy, etc. And a lot of people in our industry, they don't do that enough. They don't really look at this. They say that shit. It's rhetoric, rah, 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 but they don't, their actions don't personify that statement of I'm taking this serious, this is my own business. And then second is that, for you to be able to make as much money as you can earn, the key word is earn, which means that you've got to have the knowledge, skills, ability. And to do that, like you mentioned, you've got to practice, drill, rehearse. You've got to practice, train. But to do that, you need to have the right stuff that you're training. So instead of training random things or redundant things or things you don't need to train on, you should have KPIs, key performance indicators, or benchmarks or goals. I need to track this, and this, whether it's by analytics reporting or it's with call tracking, voice recording, analytics, early warning systems through a company like CallSource, right? And then from that field intelligence that you're auditing, that you're monitoring, almost like a professional athlete, Conor McGregor or whoever in UFC or in football or in boxing, they watch the tape. Can you imagine being like somebody that's a super famous athlete, and you don't want to watch and relive the most embarrassing thing that you got knocked out like Glass Joe from Mike Tyson's Punch Out, but they do over and over and over again. They review the tape so they can isolate the angle, the trajectory, what went wrong, and in the future play chess. If somebody comes and engages me this way, I'm gonna dip, dive, dweeb, counter, stuff like that. If you're not measuring, how can you really isolate where you have opportunities to improve? So listen, Jeff, it's been a true honor to be able to talk to you, gather your field intelligence. And man, I'm just going to say it right now. If you don't know this, you are in the 0.01% of the United States in aspect of internet management. And you've accomplished that in 3 years in our industry. So God bless you and congratulations, my friend. I'm impressed.
Very much. I appreciate the time.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is sponsored in part by AutoWeb. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.